Okay. Hello. Okay, I think we're up and running. Everything looks fine. Yes, sir. Good day. How are you, sir? I gotta remember to, I don't need to, here again. Always good to see you as well. Good. Good. Okay. Checking on the dogs. They are playing a little bit. Oops, sorry for the microphone. Okay. What am I doing today? Where am I? How are things? Things are okay. I'm a little bit discombobulated. My apologies. I want to get some stuff done on this project today. General updates. Friday, I may not be able to do the coding challenge. I may have something I need to go do in the morning. I'll see where that lies. If I don't do it on Friday, I'll do a longer stream on Saturday. It'll be a bit later time. It'll be a longer stream. Else. If I wince, etc., it's because I have tennis elbow, which is causing me to. My desk is not set up right for me to have left hand tennis elbow. It's kind of cramped on that side, so if I wince, my apologies. I don't mean to be complaining. It is just fortunate that I have some issues. Okay, I'm gonna start with. I remembered the site. I got an email from the site, so I remember the site that Chris, the guy on YouTube who's building the app, Ellie, recommended for UI UX. So this is a paid application. There is a free tier, but not really of any depth. Basically, what it does is gives you ideas for how to lay out applications. This is mobbing. So I'm going to spend some time investigating this before I actually go to do the UI side of things on Agile. CRMs, you can't log in, but different categories, different tools, here's how different sites work. When you log in, there's a little bit more depth as well, such as figuring out, hot zones, etc. Where they've got the data reported, they can actually tell you, where people are clicking and stuff, which I think is kind of fascinating and definitely something that, as a developer who does not have UI UX expertise, is definitely valuable. So I may, for $8 a month, I may consider signing up for this, even if I did quarterly, for a couple of months. But they do give you, websites, Android, iOS, so you can learn what people want, etc. For my sake, right now for Agile, I'm not focused on the mobile story. I don't believe the mobile story is one of great relevance to the initial phase. But I have been kind of putting more thought to why I'm doing what I'm doing, what challenges I'm actually trying to solve, and trying to make sure that I address, the whys. I don't have a long-term goal with Agile. I just have hey, I would like to develop this and make it better along the way, which will allow me to stay, unironically, Agile with the design of it, but it does mean that I do need some reasons as to why I'm proceeding. So, so UI UX and stuff is definitely something I need to consider. So, actually, I will put that. I remember to put that in Discord afterwards as well. So, let's do an experiment. Let's see if we get. See if it picks up anybody else. So I was looking at the stats yesterday on YouTube. People are really starting to look at YouTube videos. Yesterday's video got 50 odd views, only 20 of which were during the stream. So people are watching some of the content afterwards. And in the last 30 days, it's like 144 hours watched content. Orlf, good day. How are you doing? Hope you're not too sore from your rock climbing adventures. Or climbing adventures. Assume a climbing wall rather than rocks. And learning Blazor too. 699 open issues. My body is killing me, but I'm feeling good. Yeah. Water. Drink water. Not just saying that for the sake of the stream. Plenty of water will help your muscles recover. He says he drinks coffee. Okay, so yes, Mobbin is the site that I was talking about, that I was trying to remember last week. That is a good UI UX site. I will definitely be referring to that one later. I'm watching C++ starts while waiting for installing a VM so I can test and get out my DLL at work. Oh. Long time since I've heard that phrase. Like, actually known somebody struggling with that phrase. DLL. Yes, and which design do we use? Yeah. Yeah, so UI UX we're not going to worry too much about on water right this second. But let's start moving on with issues. So, yesterday, I added some extra behavior, and then towards the end of the stream, what I did is I created a guidelines as to what this is about. And I want to make it clear, right? I'm not trying to push people to contribute, right? I will continue developing this piece, right? I will try and leave low-hanging fruit as often as possible, so that if someone who is new to coding or wants to try and dip their feet into contributing to open source projects can do, right? So I'm not trying to push people to do anything specific with this application. I'm not looking to commercialize this application. This is just hey, this would be cool if it became a thing and we can run the app, right? And if it did become that way and the stream was, supportive enough, then I would be able to maybe host the APIs. We could have the UIs running. So, but the idea is one of learning. The idea is not one of, I'm not trying to get people to dip in and do things to help move the project forward. I will do the coding. And if people don't have opinions, then, then I will do what I can. But obviously I tried to lay down some guidelines, and I hope the guidelines make sense. But again, as with everything to do with this project, it's all open for discussion. Everything can be, picked upon, right? So again, I'm not looking for people to say, hey, here's the right architecture, right? That's not what we need to do, right? We need to evolve those pieces. Those pieces are going to have to happen on stream, and we're going to have them as discussions. And that's kind of in line with my entire approach to software development, right? My entire opinions on software development are one of collaboration and discussion, right? You're more than welcome to pick up existing issues and make a fix for them, or if you found an issue, report it and do a fix for it if you want to. if you want to put in your own version of the UI, go ahead, build your own UI. And then again, all PRs will be reviewed, and don't get upset, basically, if a PR you make is not accepted. We will be as constructive as possible when working on that. And these guidelines aren't final, right? That's the key. So what I want to do to begin with is I want to create a new branch or development off of main, right? And I want to settings, branches, add branch protection rule, main, pull refer, first dot dismiss, require review, first status checks, You Google how to update Python on old Ubuntu, and the first step is update Ubuntu. Ouch. Ouch. Okay. So obviously we don't have any actions in place right this second. As we get more unit tests and stuff in there, we'll put the GitHub actions in, make sure they run and whatnot. Right now, I'm probably sure they don't run. So my goal today is I want to fix a few of the things. So Unicus kindly went through and added a few issues yesterday. He'd gone through and reviewed some of them. So maybe we want to get the steps right, and maybe we want to get the Swagger Gen working, which will help when you're testing it. So let's do the running migrations first, right? The API project that uses the context doesn't run migrations when it starts. Maybe some clarification on it in the README file, like the command to run in SqlLite IDE, or have a service that runs the migration in dev might help new community members get started. And there's the command to run, right? You run it from the data project. So I did create a project, water drink water, right? I did create these in here. Obviously it creates cards. Creates cards in this. Right? I don't know if you can. Oh, yeah, projects. Okay, so we can assign that to the water drink water project. And assign that to the water drink water project. Pretty cool. That way I can work on these. So as we grow this thing, obviously standards need to start appearing, right? I believe that when you're working on a project with a new team, which essentially I am, right? It's important not to try and lay down all the standards from the start, because people won't understand them all, right? There's no good place to document them. There's no good place to just stick them so people can review them and follow them, because they're going to follow their natural path anyway. I think that early on in a project is a good time for PRs to kind of help identify some of those holes. So I have no issues with PRs that are like, hey, coding style, let's discuss it and go through it and review it and refine it and start to train team members on those things. If you try and go straight out with, this is how you will code, and people have come from different projects, their other stuff will creep in no matter what. You would do all the effort for, I think. So evolving standards is, I think, the best way. So what we'll do here is we'll try and go through the process a few times. I'll do a few PRs, and then we will see how it runs. So as far as migrations go, we have to assume that not everyone's on Rider, so not everyone has the access to the tools. Something about building Python myself really makes me feel powerful. When you go onto Linux, it does feel a little bit more powerful when you're like, oh, here's this command line. Now look at all this build happening, all these things. It does feel way cooler than just hitting a button. Right. Any issues? Nice. Start another WSL distro test. Sorry, I'm just looking at the camera, and I've got two little dogs sat next to each other with their heads popping up, and the lighting's kind of low in the room they're in. It's on the night vision, so you just see little eyes. They're both black dogs. And so hi. First time hearing about Python and powerful being in the same sentence. Python runs a lot of stuff. I haven't done much Python. I mean, I've played with Raspberry Pi stuff, but then .NET became available on Raspberry Pi, so I haven't touched it in a while. Oh, Junikas is back. Yeah, Junikas has been popping in towards the end of the stream pretty much routinely. Good morning, by the way, Delta. And he's already done some contributions to this project, which is nice. Python is cool, but I don't see myself reaching for it when I need to code something. I've been watching people do Godot, and I know it's not Python in Godot. It's kind of Godot Python. But I kind of like the way that the Python code looks over the C# code for Godot. I just think it's more readable. It's really difficult to find good devs on Twitch, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Delta. You need TypeScript for Python. TypeScript for Python. Maybe they'll move to that next. So, this issue highlights a challenge when you're doing a project for the first time, right? And it often creates, it works on my machine, right? Because I'm the one building this to begin with, right? Everything is going to work. I'm not going to commit terrible, terrible code. Well, in this case, I'm going to commit terrible code, but I'm going to commit code that is at least building and running and doing what I ask it to do, right? So testing this isn't easy. I can delete the database and run the command. Entity framework, run migrations on first app. Should viewers be opening issues? Wouldn't you prefer they pick up issues or propose them? You can open an issue. Doesn't mean it needs to have anything done against it. And I'm pretty responsive to, if I feel someone's adding an issue that's not really an issue, then I shut it down. Again, there's no harm in issues being open and PRs being made that have, they get rejected. Again, all PRs are going to get reviewed on stream. Right? So if you want to make a PR just for the sake of making a PR, then, you got to be willing to accept. Yeah. So, again, if you want to open an issue, open an issue. If you want to fix an issue, that's a choice. And again, I'm not looking to build this as a product. I'm not looking for help here. I'm looking for learning opportunities for people. So, yeah. I guess I've seen other maintainers keep a tight rein on their code bases. I don't know if that's right or wrong, really. So, yeah. Do I risk the trolls? A little bit, right? But I think that this community, this little community, has a lot of solid people in it, right? And I'm not worried about the majority, right? So I think I'm not being naive with this project, right? This is exactly why I'm doing this and not open sourcing the Agile platform stuff, right? Because that would be a nightmare to control. I'd have to control that with a I don't know what the right word is, but I'd have to be keeping tight control of it. Right. So again, my guidelines, right? No major standalone PRs. This isn't about your opinions, right? This is about shared understanding and shared growth. So maybe I need to reflect that in the guidelines exactly. This isn't meant to be, hey, this is my vision of software, or it's not meant to be, it's your vision of software. It's meant to be, here's a shared vision, and here's the problems, and have a talk about those problems. And that's what I want to go with this, right? This is an application that would potentially be developed, right? Someone's taken some of the pieces and said, hey, I know how to do this now. And they've kind of broken it up into some level of organization, but they've not really solved all the problems, or they've created new problems by doing it the way they've done it, right? And we can then talk about those things. So maybe my guidelines will reflect that the first time someone does a PR. We'll see. Tentic, good morning or good day. Hope you're well. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for stopping by. My stuff is a little different to Satolis's, who I do owe a shout out to. So, Satolix is a game streamer building game in Unity. He has a very cool stream, very interactive stream. He has a very salty bot. He's a VTuber. It is a great place to go and hang out. And I can thanks to Tolix for many viewers recently and a lot of support. That's not unintended. That is inspired. The reason it's called water, drink water, is because of Satollit's bot. Yeah. Oh, did he make an emote out of the bracket? That's awesome. I had to go make dinner and stuff. Okay. So I've been told 3 times in the last 10 minutes that ads have been running. So if you've been seeing ads, I apologize. I've not been hitting the button. I have not been running them. But I am getting told by Twitch that ad breaks are running even though pre-rolls are off. So I apologize. So welcome. If you're new to the stream, this is a viewer project. It is a .NET 8 project built with the sole intention of building something on stream for viewers, with viewers. Contributions are possible with some guidelines. And the goal is to just build something as we go. I'll stream this a couple of days a week. Oh, so you did get... Oh, man. Twitch. Yeah. Frustrating. I apologize, but yeah. Unfortunately, it's a downside to accepting affiliate status with Twitch. You have to accept that ads will run. And I tried controlling them. So that they only run and keep pre-rolls off. So that's unfortunate that it gave you ads anyway. Okay, so to the point of, opinionated commits, if you're going to go off and write a bunch of code to try and improve this project the way that you think it should be improved, then, I can't help that, right? But I would advise against it, right? This is not a project for you to put in your opinions into how this code should be written and expect a PR to be taken. If you go off and do this sort of stuff, right, here's the right way of doing it. Sadly, yeah, I think, yeah, I'm a Nitro user, but that's just because I really don't like ads at all. I like to be able to know that I've got continuity in the streams, but yeah. Yeah, if you're going to go off and do this sort of stuff, if you're going to say, hey, here's how we should do the architecture, that's not what I'm after. What I'm after with this project is more of a, hey, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that. Can we try this or can we look at this? And I'm willing to sit on stream and, with the main project. I kind of did that, right? I refactored it. But the problem with that is you as a viewer that might be interested in seeing the end result or being able to review those results can't do that with the main project because I'm not open sourcing that piece. So yeah, it's a risk that people do that. So let's proceed. Let's go and do something. Let's see if we can get some code in today. First step, migrations. Do we want to run migrations by default, or do we want to that seems like awful. So what this would do, so it goes to the API. So basically, once once the app has been built, Now you could write that in an if debug, so it doesn't do it if it's deployed. Open source is still a dilemma for me. I like open source idea, but I want to make a game and I still learn my coffee with it. But people can just rip off your code of GitHub Basic Benefit for free if they are skilled enough. So if you're going to open source it, yes. So open source is a double-edged sword, definitely. If you are willing to share what you're doing and accept contributions, then yeah, open source is an answer. But why are you open sourcing it, right? So for me, my main project is not open source. I do it on stream, so if you are observant enough, you might be able to pick up some of the code or whatever. And I share core libraries that I build, so things that I think would help and contribute. So I'm not trying to derail and go on an agile project management thing, but I'm building my main stream stuff is I'm building an agile project management tool, right? I believe there's pieces missing in things like Jira, etc., that could help us move forward with those processes much quicker. I'm not open sourcing the main thing. But not Liquid Sky. So Liquid Sky is my main project. However, I have developed 3 different pieces off of that help with some of the pieces I use commonly, right? And this is the pieces that most people are interested in, or would be interested in. So how do I use Kafka, right? So I've pulled out the pieces, I've developed an outbox, etc. So, Kafka is, I can plug Kafka in very quickly and get it working. Same with Saga's a very specialized case, right? Most people aren't going to want to use these. These are very much something I developed for my purpose, but we'll see how that works. I think I might need these again. These are implementing mediator sagas. So if you want several different notifications from mediator to result in a single notification, you can do that. And then the outbox is literally applying a backed memory or SQL Server backed outbox to mediator notifications, so you can disconnect the actual processing from the actual storage. This was useful because I have a transaction that spans several different actions, and I needed that transaction to actually encompass the events that would trigger from these things being saved. So this solved the problem. So I've not open sourced the main project. I've open sourced the components in there, and if people want to contribute to them, they can do, right? But the main project is still closed source. It looked like someone copied some code I wrote that bothered me. If you asked me beforehand, I would have said that's fine. For people who take credit from the work of others, it's annoying. Absolutely. But I would say that we kind of all, I think the phrase is standing on the shoulder of giants, right? We are all using code that someone else has developed every day. We're using libraries. We're taking someone else's work and then saying, hey, look what I did, because you're building that into an end result. So if you open source the code, you have to be willing to accept that someone might actually just take that code as is and just, put it into another piece of code. So, but if you're developing a game, right, I would say that the right thing to do there is to keep it closed source. If you get bored of that game, or that game doesn't really work out the way you want it to, the things aren't working right, you can always bring other people in when you have it in GitHub. It's a private repo, and then you can do that. So, GitHub, that's my main. No, that's the GitHub for TV friends. So, and this is the project we're working on now. I have to figure out what the command is for my I get. You can see the summer is kind of a lull for me. But yeah, I get it. It's hard. It's a hard path. Just as you say that, I just discovered the Spotify lib I use uses something I also came across earlier today to open a web browser, because I needed that with Twitch lib authorization. Very funny. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, we get to use code. If it's open source, we get to use that code, depending on the licensing. That's what the licensing is meant to cover, right? You can open source something and say you're not allowed to take this and change it. And if you find someone doing it, then you have the right to go after them. The problem with that is how many people have the ability to go after someone doing that. I think that's the downside. Definitely the dark side of open source. So, yeah, Stack Overflow, yeah. Well, that's, this, right? Okay, so if we do this, if we're in debug mode, this will do this. So we could delete that database and then start the app, and technically we should see a database created, right? I need to put logout back in there. That's interesting. Well, that I know why. I know why that happened. But why did that only fire when I hit disconnect? So that happened, by the way, because I do not have a way to get my DB context. So what I do there is build it up, because I use the factory most of the time, right? Add scoped application DB context. Provider goes to provider, get required service, DB context factory of application DB context, DB context. So again, the purpose of this app is not one of me doing things the right way. This is meant to be here's a way, here's a bunch of code, and if you don't agree with it, let's talk about it, right? And that's exactly what this app is meant to be, but also you can contribute to it if you want to, right? So if you think you can make something better, we can talk about it. But it's all on stream, right? So now this should work. It definitely tried to call it. Styling is not where my strengths lie. UI is not my biggest strength point. There you go, that's the database created. Why didn't I create test that? Oh, it didn't register. I don't have a user. It was a deleted user. Never mind. I've been trying to work on my UI lately. This work has been very busy. More stressful. It's sort of nice break from coding and still working on things. Yeah. I will say on stream, when I start doing anything UI related, I feel very self-conscious because I feel very, very out of water. CSS mainly and layout, not my thing. So we'll see how that goes when I get around to that on Agile. Okay, so our migration ran. It created our DB, or it should have done. We have tables. kind of related. We've been debating how much struggling should happen in ensembling. I think for learning, it's important to allow the navigator to flail, essentially. I think for learning, it's important to allow the navigator to flail. So, let me just clarify. So, ensembling is group learning, right? This is the terms for this, is it, right? Mob programming, or not mob. Yeah, group coding. So the navigator is the one sat telling the person typing, right? Right. So letting the navigator flail. Well, productivity-wise, if people are sat there and they know what needs to be done or how it should be done, there's lessons to be taught, right? Because then you'll make people concerned about, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to assign this to me, right? So again, let's talk about standards. I'm not disconnecting that conversation. I'm just like, I feel that that's not necessarily a healthy path to let them flail, especially for the people in the group who know. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about letting, because I don't mind, like, if I'm stuck on something and you know the answer. Obviously with Twitch it's a little different because you guys can be telling me something and I just don't get it, right? Because I'm difficult like that. But if you knew something and I didn't tell me in that environment, I'm not sure I'd be too happy. I think I'd want the help to help explain it. Apex. Good day. Good morning. How you doing? Stream is going okay. Think we're having fun. We're putting a migration into the startup. So, and I'm wrapping it in the if debug, so that if you deploy it as a release app, then the expectation would be create the database first. Although that might not always be true. I want to see what this does as well. You're making me rethink my take as well. I don't. Multiple navigators, I agree, is bad. That's a too many cooks sort of situation. But the letting someone flail, I think that's where I mean, if they're struggling, they should be allowed to ask for help. And, you know, if you're navigating the navigator, right, even talking them through a situation to help them understand it, maybe that, yeah, teaching someone to taking over navigation. I think it very much depends on your learning style, right? That isn't good. I don't think that's good, by the way. like for me, if you just jumped in and did it for me, I'm not sure I'd learn anything, because then I'd be sat there worrying that you thought bad of me. I would much prefer to be guided through and understand the problems so that I know what I'm solving. As people were sensitive, right? Imposter syndrome is a thing. Doubting one's abilities is natural, and yeah, I'm not sure that wouldn't create that situation. So yeah, I think a bit of guidance is really what you're after there, because if someone has that little bit of wisdom, number one, every IT has imposter syndrome. Yep, you got to embrace it. Doesn't go away. I think for those of us who didn't do school for this, it gets even worse at times. Guidance first is not sure what to call navigating the navigator. I mean, essentially, if you're helping the navigator, you're basically just kind of huddling to the side, right? You're creating a huddle to discuss, here's what we actually need to do. Okay, you got it? Okay, proceed with navigation, right? Because again, once they get the concept, relaying that concept as the navigator will help firm up the concept. So you kind of, you come in over to carry on that game plan. You're talking about, what the plan is. So you are huddling to go forward, and then the navigator can resume navigation when they've got a good idea of what they're doing. I kind of like collaboration, right? So no matter what, I don't care if I'm following a particular style or reason, as long as I'm sitting down and discussing software, right? And the software is better because of discussion. There's so much material on the internet nowadays, like W3 School, pointing me to where you learn. Yeah. Yeah. And the navigator retaking over would also allow them to firm up that knowledge and see if they really did it. Because again, teaching someone how to do something is the greatest test of what you do know, right? Because you are able to, you have to figure out how to word it for someone else to understand it. If you only know it one way and you can only show it, yeah. I've worked with several people who are like, just let me have the keyboard. Oh. Nope. Okay, so we identified another issue here. And it's a UI issue. It's not really an issue. And so what I'm doing is my UI is my UI. If you want to go off and develop your own UI for this and put it against the API, you're more than welcome to. But I'm going to keep putting issues like this in, because if you are new as a developer or new to this world, or you want to do some simple contributions, these can be done against my UI, right? And if no one picks it up in a couple of days, then I will do it myself. A registration screen, as a user, I first navigate to the app, need to be able to register. First. project, water, labels, UI. And again, if you think there's tags and stuff, labels and stuff we could put on things that, we can make things more helpful and more friendly, let me know. Okay, you guys have been talking. Provide guidance in the huddle, and then the navigator takes over. Yeah, it also helps if the other person knows their learning style too. Then you can use the appropriate methods like structured versus unstructured, images versus code examples. Yep. That bodes badly. I've gotten really bad at teaching, especially new people programming things. I felt this too. Seems like I can identify it as well. I'm good at it, but just a bit impatient, which I'm not working on. Which I'm now working on. Sorry. Yeah. Like someone 1 to 2 years into coding, I'm far enough from that. Now I don't understand their pain points. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. So let's do that in progress. Well, when I was at 3 to 4 years, I still remembered them. My plan is to become a coding teacher later in my career, so yeah. So imagine being 25 years into the career, right? And still feeling out of your depth sometimes, right? It's why I think it's important to keep wanting to learn, right? So you do know what it feels like because you've tried to learn something new, right? If you let yourself, you'll know what it means, right? It doesn't go away. This doesn't get any simpler, especially if you want to chase. Like if I wanted to just do what I knew and stick with what I know, I could have done that a long time ago, right? I could just do the same things over and over again. Found a job, sat in that job, and stayed there, right? But I keep chasing new things. I realize that technology moves forward. Experienced people get stuck on very different things than new people, though. You have some backing. You have some. But if you put me into a new language, right? You've got to figure out how to teach me that new language, right? I might be looking for certain things that don't exist, right? So I can still learn, right? Tick tick, hello. But I wouldn't say I understand what it is to be fresh to programming. 25 years and still learning, that's really scary. Scary in what way? And yeah, 25 years this year is 25 years as a developer. I started in 1999 as a professional developer. It surprises some people that I'm still wanting to do this way. I just think that you should always, X years of not learning anymore is the real scary one, because it's very easy. Once you get to a certain point as a developer, if I wanted to, like I said, if I wanted to find a company and stick with that company and just sit there and become the guy, I could have done that a long time ago, right? I've had that opportunity many times. But a new technology comes along every day, right? Now, I will say I get more jaded as I get older to just the rapid, because there's this massive, oh, I don't like the way they do it, let's create a new one approach to things. And it's so easy to do these days, right? And it's a good way of learning, to do something from scratch, to build your own thing. is a good way of learning. And if you're super smart, there's a lot of smart people out here, right? It's not a bad idea, but it means that you've, like I was saying, right? If I go to, what did I learn about the other day? And my apologies for the derail. If anybody would like me to continue on with the water stuff, I will take that on board. But this seems like a good discussion point. So we have Angular, right? I think Angular IO is the current one, right? Then, what was I learned about Analog. There we go. Analog, which is a meta framework on top of Angular, right? Someone said, hey, I know how to do that better, or I've got some ideas as to how to do this. So here we go. Let's add on top, right? There's like, I can't remember what they're called, but like Java has several frameworks built off of Java that are full-powered things, right? So these things come along all the time. So when you're going to develop software, someone like me who's developed in a certain way for certain years, etc., it is hard to keep learning. It is hard to keep picking things up. And that's why I always say that you shouldn't assume that just because someone has less experience than you, they don't know more than you, right? So I should be happy to sit down and be taught by someone who's got a year of education, but has looked into this and has specialized in this. They can walk me through it, but you should allow yourself to be taught as well. And I think that's also helpful in keeping you grounded in understanding how people learn, because you get to understand how you learn as well, right? UI stuff has definitely become a lot faster moving, but even the back end, right? Microsoft can't decide what they want to do, right? We've got WinUI, we've got Blazor, we've got Maui, we've got these different tools and these different tool sets, and Blazor WebAssembly, Blazor Server, right? What do we use? When do we use it? How do we use it? Which library do we use? And the point I was trying to get to there, by the way, was not even this, right? Getting started in here. Which one do you want to use? Do you want to use NPM? Do you want to use YARN? Do you want to use PNPM? Right? Oh, I don't like NPM, so I'll create PNPM. It does different things, right? So things move so fast that if you don't try and keep learning, if you don't try and keep up with this stuff, then, that's why it's so high paid to become a, what was it? Is it Fortran? Several of the states in the US have their tax systems built on, I think Fortran, COBOL, one of them. That's why they're so high paid, because people don't keep up, like people don't bother with that stuff anymore. I think it's COBOL. Yeah, COBOL. So, never assume. Like, I laugh when I see, I've learned HTML and JavaScript, now what do I do? We don't correct people on that. We don't kind of help guide them towards, hey, you haven't learned them. Because the biggest talent you can gain as a developer is learning how to learn, right? Learning how to try and understand something and building on that knowledge. So yeah, Thorolf, I get your point in that I can't possibly appreciate what it is to be in my first or second year. But I can remember those times, and I can remember the learning I did. And my learning style hasn't really changed. I am definitely a visual learner. I've essentially been learning HTML and CSS better the past 2 weeks. Right. But as with everything, you got to keep practicing. I spent the weekend, I just remember being terrible. It went terrible. How about architects who recode you don't write. Well, technically that's meant to be my job, right? I'm meant to be an architect. But I feel that keeping your hand in and making sure you're coding is an essential art of being a good architect. Well, if we're gonna use that role, I don't believe anybody who doesn't code should be telling people how to code. I think it's unhealthy. We don't know what they do outside of the job, right? So let's go and feature 7. I believe in the role for sure. So some of the biggest difficulties in learning how you are as a person learn. Once you understand that, it becomes a lot easier and less frightening to handle new things. Yeah, it is definitely hard to understand how you learn, and through some very I'm starting to understand more about my abilities and my how I comprehend things that I've never really reflected on. I've got lots of books, but I can't read them. But I can sit down and write code, and once I see something, I can pick it up quickly and expand upon it. So, yeah. Every 6 months, they come up with a new framework. Billy, welcome. First time. Every 6 months, they come up with a new framework. There is this language that works in a sandbox, creates and modifies DOM objects that is rendered by the browser. Then they modify this language and race against each other for who modifies those objects faster. Rarely encountered more absurd thing. Yeah. That's for architects who don't code. It depends on how they handle input and collaboration. It's iron-fisted, that's not going to work. That's the problem with architects from my perspective. My experience has been that way, right? I need to look at that screen because that screen has YouTube on it, and if anyone on YouTube has any opinions here, I want to make sure I don't ignore them. Not coding as an architect seems like the fast track to make outdated decisions. Luckily, tech does move more slowly. People just keep creating new frameworks with different bells and whistles. I'm Ian, actually. Well, welcome, Ian. I definitely find it interesting. It's for sure useful to have someone looking over the PRs in a broad sense for errors and consistencies. If the architect is learning from the devs, you may understand the big picture better. Right, and this is kind of where my kind of opinion on even architecture has changed in the last couple of years, right? If you asked me 5 years ago, what do I believe as a software architect? I'm like, nope, software architect shouldn't exist. The team should own the code, right? The team should develop the code they need. If you ask me today, the team should own the code. The team should definitely own the day-to-day maintenance and should be able to say, hey, this doesn't feel right, right? So from my understanding, from the way I look at an architect, the architect is one who is looking at the bigger picture of how the software is going to work, right? How it's going to integrate with other systems, how day-to-day workflows should happen. The overall, here's how the system fits together, right? And the architect is keeping an eye on that. Similar, an architect, when it comes to buildings, is drawing up how things come together and what should be done. The builders themselves are the ones implementing the vision of the architect, which is why the role of architect, right? But the problem is that the architect, in traditional sense, is kind of the person that dictates how something should be done. So I've seen a place where the architect lays down the actual structure and then expects the developers to just fit that structure. The problem with that approach is that, in general, software doesn't quite work the way you intend it to all the time. And you come up against, hey, I need this requirement, right? And the architecture doesn't support that. So in that case, what happens is the developers will oftentimes go off and make it support that. So they'll make a breaking change in the architecture. The architect doesn't get visibility into that because it's not a collaborative decision. It's a pragmatic decision to get a story completed. And now the architecture doesn't quite work the same, or they've got a workaround. So there's an actual thing in there. Now, other developers come along and they mimic that pattern. Depends. Yeah, that absolutely does depend, as Apex says. But anyway, so these days I believe that you need leadership and you need mentorship in terms of getting the software together. Developers in general are not capable of looking at the bigger picture, especially if you have several junior developers. They don't care about the bigger picture. They care about getting the job done and learning and growing, right? What they should do. So it's not healthy for them to be responsible for designing how the software should work. So you need people of more experience to tackle that. Going forward, it should be apparent that everything that needs to be done should be discussed and understood. So that in the case of the architecture not fitting, the right people can be involved in understanding the impacts and appreciating the differences it makes so that you don't have a bad pattern creep into the software. So I do and don't believe in architects. I don't want to be the sort of architect who says, this is the way you do it, this is how it works. But I do want to be the architect that says, here's a way of doing it if you have an issue. Let's talk about it and go through it. Right? Yeah, I don't like defining technical details. Yeah, it depends. Moments. Sometimes it's beneficial. If it's a technical piece, definitely technical details in a story. If it is a story that is driven by product management, you shouldn't have technical details necessarily in the story, right? Those should be, they can be captured in comments, but not in the actual core story. So I don't believe that you should define technical details unless it's capturing a discussion that's happened. Junicus, good morning. How you doing? Welcome. I'm doing good. We're working on things. Nice, Ezra. Thank you. I will look at that. I've looked at it. I will go back to it in a second. We'll definitely use that. Thank you very much. I'm onboarding for a new company, and the technical details have helped me massively to gauge my level of effort and the context around what they expected fixes. But they didn't need to be in the story. They could have been outside of the story. There's all manner of different ways to help that. So that's pretty cool. So that's against. But Essa has just suggested. Yeah, pairing is the best way of teaching someone new file system. So here you go. So create an extension. So Junicus, we're tackling issue 7, the migration part, which having run some basic code, I think we'll definitely pull this in. And I'm going to put it straight in. No, I'm not going to put it straight in. I'm going to put it straight in here. Infrastructure. There's something wrong with Blazor. You can't use DB context directly. Something I've seen people using DB context factory all the time. I've kind of got into it as a general pattern now. You can use DB context when I'm not a Blazor expert. So I don't think Mr. Anhorn is around. But when Blazor first came around, there was some issue with how it assigned context, so the factory was the required way of doing it. I think you had to introduce not the pooled context factory, but you definitely had to use a context factory to get a context in Blazor, because the way the connection was managed. I'm not sure it's still the same issue, but there definitely was a reason for it originally. But now I've kind of gotten into this pattern where I inject the factory, I don't inject the context. Although then I end up needing this anyway because other services expect the context. Saying that technical details can help with guidance but shouldn't define the exact solution. The developer should. Right. I'm not saying technical details are never required. It definitely depends, but the technical details shouldn't lie in the story. The story should have a goal, right? So the story should be, and this isn't a good example in here because obviously this is a highly technical thing. But yeah, it's something that you should definitely. If technical details are required to get you through the story, then there's some more review that needs to be done there, I think. With pairing and stuff. I see. What did you decide on the migration thing? So basically, we're going to implement. So S has just kind of created an extension method. We'll use this, and then we'll put it behind the is development. And we'll just apply the migrations. Delta, have a great day at work. Yeah. So when we're about to look at the Swagger thing after this, my goal was to finish this and move on to the Swagger thing, but we actually have managed to have some pretty solid discussion as well. So I don't want to shut that down. Yeah. Thank you as always, Delta. As always, the conversation is, software development isn't all about code, right? It's about team building. It's about discussion. It's about making sure that you are in line with your teammates' ways of thinking and approaching software. That's why open source projects are actually pretty hard, because you have to approach them from a, my coding style isn't their coding style. And how much do you say, here, I want this. So, migration extensions. Do it that way, yeah. Import that. Go. Then we can just do. Software development is shockingly less about writing code and more about how to be efficient in communication. Trying to get your DLLs to actually find each other. I mean, yeah, different challenges, right? But, for the Agile platform, that is my overall point. And I've been thinking a lot about it, since you asked me to document some of it, Apex. I'm not going to show everything on here, but I have been putting some serious thought to it, right? What am I trying to do? Why am I putting these things in? What is the challenges? What am I actually trying to solve? So I have been trying to put that together, because I think it helps, right? So it's allowed me to really consider why I'm doing Agile as a platform, and communication is the key, right? So I look back at Agile, the Agile Manifesto, and reviewed what they think, right? Because Scrum is an architecture for being Agile. It's not Agile in its nature, right? And one of the key tenets of the Agile Manifesto is communication over process, or how is it termed? Individuals and interactions over processes and tools, right? And as human beings, what we tend to do is we try and apply processes and tools to try and keep things in order, but we forget about that interaction part, and that's kind of why I'm trying to solve it the way I'm trying to solve it, and efficient in communication is kind of it. Mr. Anhorn, good morning. Hope you're well. There was a question earlier that you might be able to give more context to, no pun intended. Ian, or Billy, Is there something wrong with Blazor? You can't use DB context directly or something. I've seen people using IDB context factory all the time. So now we can remove this code. We can say at line migration. Okay. Oh. iService provider. Yes, you did give me the actual code. App.services. We can do that now in development. It was removed from AutoD. I created a factory with it. It was removed. Try to follow. So technically, we don't need that one right this second because we've already got now the in the extension method that Essa provided. That's there. Yeah. Well, sometimes you learn through the pain, right? Or so let's start this up and see. What I'm worried about is it should know that it'll know migrations have been run, so it won't try and rerun migrations. Because using Entity Framework migrations, it keeps a table of migrations history, so it won't rerun the migrations time and time again. Right. That is what saves us there. But it will test every time in development. So in development, it will run the migrations. Outside of development, we'll put the command that Unica's provided, so you can create the database and run the migration on it. Not that you should be doing this outside of development right now. So that's a different thing entirely. So register account, we're going to register Bob again, right? There's our account, so there's our test at test.com. And now we can go test at test.com, Bob. There we go. Yeah, we wouldn't be doing that in production, right? We won't be running the migration in production environment. You don't want that to happen anyway. And that's something that I want to tackle, because obviously I'm not using migrations, I'm using scripts to build everything out right now. How do you deploy a database or many databases when you're deploying a system from scratch? The Agile stuff, I definitely want to talk about that. So let's say I want to set a target, 128, right? And I want to log 64 fluid ounces, right? So now we've got 64 fluid ounces logged. We've got a target of 128. There we go. Okay, so those are good changes. Thank you, Essa, for the contribution there. Really appreciate that. Cleans that code up a little bit, and it also puts it behind development rather than just debug. Now that you're running it, okay, let's see. I'm going to tackle them as separate issues, but okay. So we're working on this one. I would imagine I will. Is it just Swagger? Also the endpoint? The API endpoint dev. Because I don't remember. That's Swagger Gen. Use Swagger UI. That should generate, right? It should be Swagger. Am I missing something here? Debug. Why isn't that going into services? I went there because the UI didn't have a register page yet, so I went to add a user to test the app and couldn't the endpoint through an exception. Right, so the endpoint works for registering through the API there, but there's no. Wouldn't that be Swagger? What did you hit in that? I'm running the API project with a current set of endpoints, Swagger complaints, and generating Swagger document exception thrown. API port. Oh yeah. Sorry. Of course it would be. Derp, you're right. I apologize. I'm remembering. Oh dear. Of course it would be on the API. Okay, there you go. 500 over. Okay. That's interesting. I thought for certain the API, that would display it. That's why I just did it in there. Okay. So yeah, we'll come around on that. Let's get this commit done, and then we'll come back and do that branch. Added extension method to run migration development. So a way of doing this would actually be in non-development. You could actually it says actually again. You can generate scripts. So you could actually generate scripts and then prepare the database. We're doing SqlLite so that we don't impose a challenge on anyone viewing, right? So if you want to check out the project, and it looks like we're getting a few viewers in today. So for reference, this is a stream project. The goal is one of learning. So I'm not trying to be opinionated about how it's built. The idea is that it creates discussion, some debate, but it is a shared project. It is available on the endpoint there. Endpoints on the brain, in the link there, the chat. Amal, my apologies. I missed your message before. I hope you're still there. Apologies. So again, the goal is one of collaboration. It's not me trying to get people to do work for me. It's one of just trying to help people so that it's friendly to people starting. It's friendly to people trying to do their first pull request. What was I going to do then? I was going to do something in Docs. I can't remember what I was going to do. What we might want to consider doing is creating, these HTTP requests while we're learning. Create them as actual HTTP requests in here, using that new style, and then they can be run from within the actual IDE. But I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get the R made. Go through that process. Okay, so running migrations and declarification. Did I push that commit or did I push that branch? Push. So this stream is never about me making progress on code. Even if I'm doing something more heavier, the goal of the stream is one of, growth, learning, discussion. So I'm open to questions. I'm open to discussion, as long as it's relevant and it stays on point and it doesn't turn into any sort of argument. I'm more than welcome. I'm more than happy to entertain a discussion. If you feel there's some code on the screen that you want to investigate more, you want to ask questions about, you should feel free to do so. I'm not trying to say this is an advanced developer only stream. This is open to anybody. And I'm definitely happy to entertain anyone new to the software development and discuss it. So, feel free. Okay, so that's pushed. So if we go up here, does Git track these? No. Make a pull request, prepare pull request. Feature 7 to development. Need to go through that. Projects, water. There's a way of doing this, isn't there? Run a migration development. I must drop. Talk to you later. Good luck. Thanks for the stream. Apex, thank you very much. Have a great day at work. You'll learn lots. I'll see you again soon. For those that don't know what Apex does stream, not so much right this second because when he got himself a job. But he is working on and building a game in Godot in C#. And recently he's been working on behavior trees and unit testing. So he's been doing a lot of fascinating stuff there. So worth a follow. So let's tackle this one. We'll create a pull request. I will eventually put in the rules for get approvals, etc. That's a little hard to do early on. If people are engaged in the project and actually are contributing, that this becomes slightly easier. But yeah. So files changed. I'm pretty happy that it's working. We've tested it. It definitely applies to migrations. Get the folder. There you go. Merge pull request into development. Okay. I'm going to check out. Oh, check out. Okay. Delete feature 7. Modification. Merge. Close issue. Yeah. I'm not going to mess around with trying to do things like that. So I could see in the Swagger issue, it looks like the way you name the class in the endpoint confuses Swagger. It can't distinctly identify the endpoints. Gotcha. Okay. This is worthwhile discussing. So it might need some of the Swagger attributes to help it figure things out, or a new naming convention for the endpoint, or maybe even remove Swagger and use what you mentioned before. Okay. So let's tackle this. How do I do this? What's the right workflow here? So part of this is actually understanding the workflow as well, right? I'm going to assign myself, move it to in progress, create a branch for this. So there's the style. Create branch. Also, the fast endpoints project has a Swagger integration. Okay, we'll look at that in a second. I'd like to officially redact my Python complement. Oh no. What's Python done to upset you now? Okay, so naming style we'll have to figure out. I kind of like the feature slash because then when we do PRs and stuff, we can actually have tests run on feature branches, etc. We'll talk about how to do this as a process. Python is apparently the cause. Oh no. That is bad. So if you are interested and you are new to the stream, also you can join the Discord where continued conversation is optional. It is available. There are several links in there in terms of channels, sharing further information after the stream. Also the coding challenges that I plan to do, which again may move from Friday to Saturday, but I will update in Discord later on. Okay. So let's have a look. So the point that Unicus is making is the endpoints, right? So I've kind of fallen into this pattern, and I kind of like this pattern in that the folder represents the action, it represents the thing that I'm talking about. And then the verb I'm using, right? But obviously, if Swagger doesn't understand that this is a folder and is part of that, then it's trying to call everything post, so it's going to have issues, right? So what Unicus kindly did was get that information captured, right? So it's struggling to build a schema, for already used type, because parameters is parameters is parameters. Everything's got post parameters. So my naming convention conflicts with that. Because again, I kind of, objects that don't need to be used elsewhere, I nest underneath the parent object, right? Because only this object cares about them. So yes, they're exposed publicly, but they are attached to this object, so they'll post our parameters. But I follow that pattern everywhere. And it works generally. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at fast endpoints. Fast endpoints. Yeah. Documentation. Yeah, right there. Enable Swagger. First install fast endpoints.swagger. So let's see if this changes anything. Fast endpoints.swagger. Let's not install pre-release software. Then we could be chasing our tails on something completely different, right? Using services add fast endpoints Swagger document. I might have to take another look at fast endpoints with Dapper. There was some weird hookup to consumers it had before that might be fixed now, I hope. Looks like this project is very actively maintained, right? Just realized, did I not? Yeah. It was Dapper one, not so much fast endpoints. Okay. Okay, so we can go into Whoa. No. Don't want to do that. I want to check out development again. Just made a mistake. I think I need to do that first. So what I just did is wrong. I need to make sure that this branch goes away quickly. So what I've just done is I've branched off of, I do that. I'm better at deleting them. So have a view of all branches. I'm going to delete this branch because I branched off of main, not off of development. I should have branched off development, right? So we're going to delete feature 7 because that's done and merged into development, right? We're going to delete 6 SwaggerGen, right? Go to issues. If I go in here and create a branch, right? I should do development, right? I need to set development as the main. So my goal is always that when the application gets to a good point, it gets merged into main. Main would be the release branch. So I'm making sure that I'm trying to keep that as clean as possible. So yeah. Let's get that there. Let's go back here. Check out development. Go. That's that. Local. Let's remove that one. Remote. Check out that one. Okay. That should be healthier now. Okay. What signaled that was the infrastructure folder disappeared, which was a bad thing. Okay, I'm getting ready for work. Hope to catch you again. I'll check the repo for you. Yep. Thank you very much, Unicus, for the contribution so far already. Fantastic. Really appreciate the everything you've done. Very much appreciated. Let's add last 10 points Swagger in there again. I'm yet to be won over on Blazor, if I'm being very honest. I've looked at it for years now. I've tried using it. But then again, if you look at everything I've done over the last couple of years, I haven't done that much UI stuff, right? So, Blazor I've always struggled with. Maybe that's a me problem rather than Blazor. I mean, maybe. Considering Mr. Anhorn and Deflux love for Blazor. Nature Coder was very big on Blazor as well, if memory serves, so I just don't. Some of the things don't fit mentally for me, and I will never like this. The HTML being with the code, it bugs me. I kind of prefer it behind, but it's not. By default, putting it behind doesn't work the way. Yeah. I wish the code behind file was still there. You see the water gauge? I think we could turn it in a razor component. Yeah, that looked really cool. Yeah, I like that. That would be pretty nice as a graphic. It is just have to be explicit, but I don't like the code block either. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this because it kind of, I think mentally, right, it merges the two worlds. You don't put your code behind HTML anymore, like when I did. That was the default. Yeah, you can use partial classes, right? You can add a log.razor.cs or whatever, or cs.razor, whatever it is, and it will nest under here by convention. And it becomes a partial extension of this, and you can code it, but I don't know whether it works exactly the same as the code block, or you have to do some different things, but it doesn't do it naturally. Right, but I mean, defloats. I made it language. One day I'll read it out and I'll feel bad because I can't keep the language controlled. And you made it with 20 minutes and in the middle of a Blazor discussion. No, just try and keep the language. Also, it will still be tied to it, but at least it was different files. But I've never used Blazor yet. All front-end frameworks are converging on this model. I don't know if it's the right choice, but it makes sense to me. Ooh. Well, so, like, I don't know. From the Blazor I see, from the examples I see, these blocks get kind of hefty, and that mental disconnection, something I'm still struggling with, right? Like, where am I on? I mean, in this case, I'm all on client, right? This is WebAssembly. But in Blazor server, am I on server? Am I on client? I don't quite know where the line is, and maybe it's just taking time and learning more. Yeah, I'm just saying I don't like code because Esther was saying how they picked up Blazor and it's kind of enjoying it, and then I was like, I'm still not a fan. Wasn't this what old PHP was doing? Old PHP? You mean PHP? Yeah. Yeah. Can it auto refactor? I don't know. Can it? Nothing there. Let's see. I mean, that'd be pretty cool if it can, because you know I'm using that. Generate. Holy, what? Hold on. Generate unit test. What? Okay, we might use that feature later. Anyway, I'm trying to do something and I keep getting distracted, right? PHP did get a major update last year. Preface with all because I don't really know anything about PHP beyond my var. Yeah, PHP 8 is a massive step forward in PHP, although it's kind of moving to a JIT style of development. So it's kind of following C Sharp's lead. Move. Okay, so you're thinking, okay. There's a context action. This is a context. Code. Move current button, yeah. To be fair, JIT is very good these days. Yep, very top. Very top. Was it actually there? And I missed it. Show context actions. Generate code. Thank you. That's that. Alt enter, sorry. Yeah. Ooh. There you go. Mr. Jones, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for coming on in. There we go. All my problems are solved with Blazor. I feel so much better. Just looks so much nicer as well. So if you learn how to do that in the other environments, VS Code, Visual Studio is there. If you can, it would be great to post a link in the learning links in the Discord. Anyway, not the point of what I was doing, but very cool nonetheless, right? Fixed all the bad things about Blazor. No. Removed code from Blazor files. Backing code. What's the right term for them? Code behind. Code behind files. And now we are in Web Forms 2.0 territory. Which I'll still say this is Web Forms 2.0. Microsoft Kyoto, they came out. You point to any open API endpoint, it will do all the legwork. Ooh. I'll skip leg day. Okay, let's go into our API. Okay, I'm gonna focus on this for a minute, just to see if I can get this in before the end of the stream. Because it'd be nice to get this fixed, and then it's useful, right? So, to add fest endpoints. So do I remove? I assume I remove that part. I don't need that. I'm gonna comment it out for a second. Add Swagger. Add Swagger gen on that one. No, that's add Swagger document. Swagger document. Define a Swagger document and then use fast endpoints. Use Swagger gen. But use Swagger UI. Oh no. Are you serious? It defined it. I'm going to use Kyoto and internal open APIs to generate front-end and back-end details at the least. Nice. I'll have to check that out. Pritzlib is being annoying. Can't get my WebSocket to connect. I don't use Pritzlib, I'm afraid. Although, weren't you having issues with this, Mr. Anhorn? Sorry, I didn't get to. I know that I was around and I was lurking, but I wasn't paying too much attention. I was trying to finish something else and then got distracted. But you were having issues with WebSockets last night, weren't you? I think our definitions of fun might differ. Oh, you guys are talking about something I can't get distracted on. So that's from ASP.NET Core. Use Swagger, and that's from stop and build. Let's see if we change any behavior here. Although that's kind of bad if we have to use... Hold on. Now add this. So then you can't avoid having... So in the Microsoft version, or in the regular version, you put it behind it is development, so you don't actually publish this to production. In this version, publish it to production. There you go. Kind of. Oh, there we go, it does now. Okay. Back and forth on, okay. Looks like it's still okay. There you go. So, registration. John at test.com. Apologies. Password is friend. Confirm password is friend. Execute. Responses. 204. Now we should be able to go to login and test John at test.com with the password friend. There's our token. There we go. Welcome back, Tick Tick. How was lunch? What was lunch? Italian sausage pasta. Nice. So, obviously, Swagger is having issues with my models because each model is called parameters, right? So it numbers them. But it does do okay with the point. So this does fix the general problem, right? For right now. It's not perfect. There's some extra work that will need to be done to make this friendly, but Swagger is working. The only question I have here is, right, we also need to go, yeah, Fred at test.com, friend. No, it's John. John. Right. We also need to deal with navigation when the user's logged out, etc. So, yeah, some pieces there that need to be handled. Okay. So I think that my only question there is now, technically, the only way of dealing with this that I know of right this second would have to be else, right? And now that becomes, I think that's completely wrong, right? So that Swagger would only work inside a dev, right? That's the only way I can see doing that. So I'm gonna do that for now. If you feel there's a different way, or if there's some tags, etc., we can do. And yeah. For my British or expat viewers, obviously you know Crunchy, and I asked you this defaults yesterday. I didn't see if you answered. they make a spread, crunchy spread. And I have recently found my favorite snack is chocolate rice cakes with crunchy spread on it. So something that's meant to be healthy and then putting chocolate spread on it. And it's absolutely delicious. The crunchy spread is not cheap though here. So I think it's like $12 a jar, and it's only like a little jar. Added swagger. Hold on. Added swagger. Too fast points. I'm going to link back to that so that if anyone has any questions, they can still look it up. Right. Okay, so let's push this. And we can make the relevant changes. So obviously I did some stuff in that commit that wasn't within the permit remit of the actual request. But I feel that is making the code better. Right? Now, what I've just done is done something that is of personal preference. So realistically, if you and I are a team, I've just gone and put my stamp on the software. Right? If you didn't agree with having code behind, or you knew of an issue with code behind, I've just completely just blown past that. And, you know, it's a problem, right? So it's something that, as a developer, it's easy to do, but it's not necessarily right? So, 24. But I also didn't verify the app still works, by the way. I don't see why it wouldn't, but, you know, 196. The TBD's way or the highway. Right, and that's the problem, right? It's easy to do. It's easy to impose your thoughts on how you should do something. So be mindful of that when you're writing code, when you're looking at building software, especially when you're contributing to the code that other people are using. That just because you like doing something doesn't mean it's the right way and it's worth discussing, right? So in reality, what I should have done there is say, hey, does anybody have any arguments when we're doing this? Is there a problem with doing this, right? I feel it reads a little easier now because the HTML is the HTML and the code behind is the code behind. And as someone who uses Angular as well, this makes sense, right? Unless there's already defined style guide. Yeah, that might be something we can put in or learn how to do, because I don't use editor configs again, so that would be kind of cool. Putting an editor config in here would be useful. So yeah, that is some of the options. So let's get that merged in. We'll solve that problem. That's that. Thank you very much, Essa, for your contribution there. Much appreciated. And we'll tidy things up. Get going. Okay. So let's do a PR. Pull request. So going into development, not into anything else. I'll set development as the default branch in a second. Ultimately, we'll set some standards and practices in here if you guys are interested in contributing to the project. I'm not going to jump through hoops if people aren't genuinely interested in doing anything. So here we changed files. We added, I commented out the Swagger gen. Well, that is something I would not normally do. I'd normally remove that out, right? But we'll see. Because I didn't remove any of the pieces. So as an experiment, it might be cleaning up that. I've obviously left some technical data in place. Thank you very much for hanging out. Take care. Here we can see. We moved fast endpoints in there, and then we added fast endpoint swagger. And then we cleaned up the code behind the I can't approve my own changes, obviously, because that's that, but I can merge. I'm going to merge that into development. Yep. Delete branch. There's a way of closing the issue as well, which I should have done. I'm not used to doing this. That's the problem. Branch like this. Fixed. And merge into development. Last endpoints dot swagger was enough to solve the initial problem. Swagger being unavailable. There's probably some further work to do to clean this up. Understandable. National Croissant Day. I could go for some croissants. That'd be good. Croissants. Okay. So we've knocked out 2 issues today. I think I'm going to have granola, toast, or something like that for breakfast. I haven't eaten yet. Okay. Your branches, settings, branches, add rule, development, require pull request before merging, require approvals. We can't do that right this second. Require status checks to pass. Talk about other options as we learn things, so that's fine. Code. I want to set. There you go, the whole bunch, sorry. Development, the default. Oh no, not rename. Switch to development. Need one more follower for my follow goal. Oh yeah, that's coming up. I do want to thank everybody that has followed recently. Right, since coming back to streaming in November, I've really appreciated the support. The stream has really been a very productive and friendly place to be for the last couple of months, and I'm looking to keep growing that, which is why I'm doing this project, and I appreciate it. And yeah, so Twitch is a great place. We're going to raid more people. Well, if you have any suggestions, actually, Captain Coda has, that was the largest number of follows I've ever had. I think I had 3 or 4 follows from Captain Coda stream. And that was the largest, number of follows I've directly got in result of a raid. So that was a very good one. Captain Coda is great. Great streamer, very, very fun. All about education and stuff, so I can definitely get behind that. 12-hour stream. So sometime in May is my 5th anniversary of affiliate. So I will definitely do that. C# is live and full stack. Okay, so where would you guys go next? Is the question. Oh, no, by the way, Temtic, I'm mentioning the goal. Have you thought more about getting your stream back up and running? So Temtic is considering getting back on the horse. So hadn't forgotten about that. Yeah, where would you guys go next? It looks like we're losing people anyway, so I'd rather raid someone you guys want to go to than I would raid out to someone random. You can drive yourself crazy fixing Twitch bots, remember that. It's why my bot isn't up and running. So my bot is written from scratch. GitHub, github.com tbd develop. So my primary GitHub. I recently went through all the effort of writing a full set of webhook code for the Twitch APIs. I've yet to use it, but my bot is completely custom, but I don't use it because I don't want to drive myself crazy doing bot dev on stream. One day I'll find the time. But anyway, you guys aren't going to tell me. We're going to raid over to, let's go to the C# first today. I will be back tomorrow. I'll be doing Agile Project Management. Yes, it did, Junicus. It is fixed. I've done a PR and merged it, and it is now in development. So if you want to check it out again, close the issue. We've got to learn how to do that process. Still some questions around it in terms of formatting and structure, because it does make a mess, but it does make, I tested it through Swagger that I could register a user and log in as the user. So yeah, feel free. In the meantime, I'm going to get off. I need to get some breakfast and walk some dogs. It's getting later. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. It looks like the viewership's been pretty high today. If you're not, please follow. I will be back for tomorrow. I'll be back on Agile Project Management, which is a larger project, my personal stuff. It doesn't mean we can't have solid discussion, you talking. So thank you all. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you all soon. Have a good one.